Hello everybody, my name is David Martini and welcome to the CSX Northeast division. I wanted to give you a little bit of an intro to the layout. This layout is set in the mid-1990s. It's a fictional layout of the CSX Conrail merger, and it literally happened on this layout 2 years before the actual merger of the two layouts. We're actually standing at the west end of the layout. We actually have Buffalo staging behind the wall to my right and the Erie staging yard just in front of it. To give you a little more insight on this layout, it was actually built as a pair of layouts. When the concept started, this layout and my dad's were going to be joint layouts covering across New York State, starting at Albany to Buffalo on my dad's layout. Then this layout will go from Buffalo to Cleveland. And the entire intent was operations oriented. We typically had operating sessions 2 weeks apart. You could come on this layout, run trains from west to east, Cleveland to Buffalo. 2 weeks later, you would go over to Dad's and pick up the same train symbols going from Buffalo to Albany through Syracuse on his layout. And what Dad did is created an operating network of two railroads, same trains, so you could run a train from Albany to Cleveland or Cleveland to Albany. And we tried to set it up so the crew members had the same trains. So they would run from Cleveland to Buffalo staging on this layout. They would move to Dad's layout 2 weeks later and then run the same train, same power from Dad's Buffalo staging to Albany staging through his Syracuse division. Okay, right now we're looking at Erie Yard. This is the first stop coming out of Buffalo heading west. This is an interchange yard and a local working yard. There's an industrial district off to the right as we're going around. It's also the interchange point for the S&N Railroad. And I didn't mention this previously, but the S&N is a short line interchange, 100% fictional, basically called S&N. For those of you who have been here before, it's actually the initials for my two daughters. S&N became a perfect short line railroad. You can actually see the second deck in front of you right now, and that's the end point. Looking at the S&N short line, the S&N interchanges with the CSX down in Erie Yard. A little bit later we'll show you the helix and how to get down to the Erie interchange. Right now you're looking at the industrial section. There's a little bit of switching up here, make up the outward interchange train, and heads down towards Ridgeway, and we're approaching the bridge which crosses over a small river and a highway. We are watching the S&N transfer heading down to Erie. It's actually crossing over the bridge we talked about a little bit earlier. And there's a neat story behind this bridge. One of the people who helped build this layout and model is a fantastic bridge builder. He came over one Saturday afternoon. We were putzing around for about an hour running trains. He went out to his car after about 2 hours, came in with this bridge, set it down in this location. About 10 minutes later, the saws and tools came out and we installed this bridge. It was a complete surprise, but a very nice surprise which turned into a very nice entry scene into the basement. Moved over to the west end of the layout. I'm standing in front of the town of Mentor. Mentor is nothing more than a big passing siding. Again, there is a short industrial spur down to the cement plant, which you see behind me. Just a small tidbit of information. The power on this layout is anywhere from 10 to 15 years old. Everything is digital, Digitrax. We're still in the process of upgrading to sound units. As time allows, each unit will be upgraded accordingly and move into the modern era with sound-equipped engines. And while we're looking here, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the recent upgrades to the railroad over the past year and a half. The first one is some fascia controls. These 4 toggle switches here control the turnouts in the back, which controls the passing siding. The other thing we have is a repeater panel for the signals. The signal system has been recently updated, and all the signals, you can see one in the background here, are in the proper orientation relative to the trains. The drawback is, from a human operator point of view in the aisles, you can't see the signals. So I place these repeater panels in the fascia so the human operator can see what the signals are indicating and operate accordingly. There was a report of a non-functional crossing gate in Mentor as we're leaving the train station. So the CSX crew, maintenance crew, has been called to work on the signal. The maintenance away worker is hidden inside the control box fixing the relays. We're standing in front of the town of Euclid. Euclid is the last town before Cleveland staging heading west. This is an interchange point where we head up to Cleveland. So there is a junction behind me to my right which branches off, and this train you see in the foreground will be heading up to Columbus. We're standing in front of the Cleveland station, which is about 10 real miles west of Euclid. The next stop after this is the Cleveland staging yard. The CSX Mainline runs in front. The back track underneath the Ohio Co-op building is the branch line heading up to Columbus. Okay, we're in front of my workbench / CTC dispatcher panel. Up on the screen we have the JMRI program, which runs the signals on the railroad. The red highlighted sections are where trains are occupied at this moment. Got typical dispatcher's desk, extra batteries. Got one unique thing to take a look at is this ground cyan red pepper. We have a cat problem here in this household, and the red pepper, just open the bottle, sit it where the cat tends to hang out, and will distract it. It's been very successful over the last month. This is the last section of the modeled railroad. This is the branch line heading up to Columbus. Columbus is to my left. Another small tidbit on this layout, the bridge behind me was built by the same person that built the bridge you saw earlier on the S&N Railway. John is an excellent bridge builder. He keeps finding ways to add bridges to this layout, which is a nice benefit of having a large modeling crew that comes and helps me out quite a bit on this layout. We're currently standing in the Fairport Harbor area of the layout. This is an industrial branch line which branches off the helix behind the wall to my left. It's the switching area. It is actually operated with least power from Finger Lakes. This is partly due to the joint layout concept we talked earlier. My dad's layout actually modeled the Finger Lakes Railroad, Solvay to Geneva. And since that layout is no longer being operated, we had the Finger Lakes Power, which is now being leased to CSX to run the Fairport Harbor branch line here around you. The layout has 3 main staging yards. To my right is the far most western staging yard, Cleveland. The east end has Buffalo, again, which is staging. The Fairport Harbor scene also has a 3-track Norfolk Southern staging yard for additional interchange traffic.
That's right.